Hey everyone, welcome to the Black Dialectuals podcast. I'm Tiffany,
And I'm Joan.
and this is episode one of our brand new podcast. So, we're just going to introduce ourselves a little bit so you guys can get familiar with us and know a little bit about us. Again, I'm Tiffany, and we just decided to kind of give three facts about ourselves, even though we hate when people ask, "Tell me about yourself." But my three facts are I really, really love Shakespeare. Love Shakespeare. I feel like I could archive his work, and I kind of want to teach Shakespeare one day, but I don't want to give Sally Mae any more money to get a
Oh
master's
shit,
degree.
I didn't know that about you. I didn't know you
Right.
went to teach Shakespeare.
I would love
Yeah.
to. I would love to teach a Shakespeare practicum. Actually, it would be one of my. It's one of my dreams, but the money thing. I don't want to pay to get a master's degree. But another fact about myself is I hate being natural. I have natural hair. Uh, I love the fact that I have natural hair because like I don't have to put up with like the smell of a relaxer or the smell of burning hair with a
Yeah.
flat iron because that kind of sucks. But being natural actually sucks. It's a lot of work. It's hard to retain length, and I just don't know why God did this. Like I don't know why. It's just a fucking mess. And then my third fact is controversially yet again. I like Iron Fist. I haven't seen season 2 yet, and the series does have its flaws, but I actually like it. I don't hate it as much as y'all do.
Don't let Blue
So
Check Twitter
I'm
tell
not
you what to like.
exactly. I'm done with blue check Twitter. I saw a lot of black people, black nerds on blue check Twitter, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna follow you and support. And it's like I don't agree with any of y'all, so I'm not gonna say any of y'all. I'm just gonna say like quite a bit. So those are my three facts.
I think that's well. Let me go ahead and get my three facts out the way, and we're gonna come back to what you just said. My name is Joan, and three facts about myself is I'm a huge nerd.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I love to read.
Yeah.
If reading is just better than television, I don't know how like we've allowed our minds to become mush with all the garbage that's on TV. But that's my second fact. My third fact is I'm a Leo, so I'm obnoxious and kind of self-absorbed, but not to the point where it's toxic.
I
So
don't. I haven't picked up on any of those things. I've been talking to Joan for what? It has it been 2 years?
it's
1
been
year?
about 2 years. It's been
Oh,
about all. It's gonna be 2. We're pushing 2 years.
god damn it. Okay, you're stuck. All right. You're stuck with me. Like 2 years in the game. Like that's skin. Like I'm not
Oh
going
no.
anywhere. So I just hope you know that. So like
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
if you try to ghost me one day, I'm gonna be like Joan. Like I'm a you want to block me.
Leos, I will say this: Leos, we don't ghost people. We're pretty
Okay.
stubborn until you
Awesome.
like ruin our lives. But
Okay. See now I feel.
yeah, I'm
See now.
natural too,
All right.
and I hate it.
Doesn't it suck? Like it's just like, and then it's always. I guess life is kind of like this. You kind of do the comparison game a lot, but it's like you always see somebody with what you feel like is your ideal texture, and you know exactly what you would do with it, but you don't have that texture. Like I got major shrinkage. Like I have
Same.
super spirally coils, and like it just my hair was just really popping. It was super growing, and like people are always like, "I love your fro," and I'm just like, it doesn't grow anymore. Like you can love it all you can love it all you want to, but I don't. So you know,
Oh, some bitch on Twitter is gonna like listen to us and be like, "Oh my god, these are some self-hating hoes."
these
I
are
can
some
already
these are
feel
some
it.
dumbass hoes who hate being natural and like Iron Fist. What the fuck?
The coon dialectuals.
We're breaking like every rule right now. But anyway, like I said, this is episode one of our podcast, and today we're going to be discussing Octavia Butler's novel Kindred. Um,
Kindred.
I'm pretty sure, like, if you read at all, and if you actually are diverse with your reading, I'm sure you've heard of Octavia Butler. She's a black woman. She was a black woman, and she kind of pioneered the writing world for science fiction writing. It was a male dominated genre at the time, and she comes in as this 6 foot black woman and just kills the game with her novels. So Joan and I read Kindred together, and we have a lot of thoughts about it. We
Girl.
have we
Ooh.
have we have things that we like about it, and we have a lot of stuff that you guys probably completely disagree with that we absolutely did not like about the book. So Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I think this is important too, like to mention that. I feel like we've both talked about this already, but
Right.
a lot of Black people, especially blue check Twitter, we love to like dogpile other art mediums, but when it comes to ours,
Yes.
we're really like no one wants to be critical
Yeah.
of Black art, but not in a productive way.
Right.
I can't think of anything right now that I think is garbage that everyone else likes at the moment. Nothing jumps to Insecure.
Okay.
Issa Rae
I don't
is
love it.
great, but
I don't love Insecure. I don't. Yeah. I mean, I love the what is it? The Misadventures of the Awkward Black Girl. Like I mean, I didn't follow the series faithfully, but the little bit that I saw and I actually read the book, I enjoyed it. But Insecure is it's not my thing, and it's probably not my thing because I can't relate. I can't really relate. Like I'm not hard up for a relationship.
I can't relate.
Yeah, I don't like cheaters. So yeah, I can't relate. but
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but everybody loves it. Everybody loves it, and everybody kind of, I guess, Joan. In the same vein of what you said, I feel like a lot of Black people think that because we are so alike and our experiences are so universal, whether you're
yeah.
from the South, whether you're from the West Coast, East Coast, North or whatever, we are very universal. I mean, I know a lot of Black people from all over the United States that use country crock butter bowls, as Tupperware. Like I grew up doing that. Like that's just how we get down on some things. But when it comes to art, we kind of think that we have to love everything the same,
Yeah.
and that's just not realistic. So
No.
yeah, Insecure is definitely one of those things. I just got through reading the novel Children of Blood and Bone, and Joan and I may actually get into some thoughts with that if she ever reads it. But I didn't love that book. I have a lot of criticisms about that book. But it's a New York Times bestseller. Woo, go Black Girl. It's been optioned for a movie. It's gonna be a series, but I just don't like the damn book. I don't like it. So and I love YA and like coming of age. Like I still like
When it's done right, yeah, I love
exact
some good YA too.
exactly. And I mean, it's not even that I can't identify with, you know, kids coming of age. I mean, I still rewatch Sailor Moon over and over again. That's about a 14-year-old girl, and I haven't been 14 in 14 years. So, but I can still glean something from that. So it's not even the fact that it's about a young girl. It's just it's not a good book to me. So
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah. Kindred.
but yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much the introduction. We we decided to read this book together because we don't feel like, and I'm kind of speaking for both of us, I guess, because we kind of
Yeah.
had this discussion, but we don't feel like people give Octavia Butler her due.
No.
I mean, it's just like, and it's also like another facet of that Black art thing, Black people consuming Black art is we don't give women their props so much. So I think that now that more women are stepping out, it's Ray, Ava DuVernay, more women are occupying that space of success besides Oprah. I think that we kind of overcompensate sometimes. Like I'm not saying that people who genuinely love Insecure don't really love it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. It's just sometimes. I mean, if you're on Twitter, Twitter's kind of toxic anyway. But I feel like we're overcompensating sometimes. I feel like we try to over support when the intrigue and the pull is just not there.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case with Octavia Butler. She's kind of one of those visionaries that's kind of been swept under the rug. And the fact that a Black woman writing sci-fi, not something about, let me, even though her works are very, very infused with Blackness and her Black experiences, but she's giving it to you in a different way through the lens of science fiction. Like the fact that that's not being talked about constantly, that's weird to me. That's very weird to me.
You know what? It's crazy how people like to bring up H.P. Lovecraft so often, but I mean, this is crazy. He has not him and Octavia write two completely separate genres, but it's just like Octavia's kind of awesome too, and man, my brain just kind of shut off. But it makes no sense to me that she's been around for so long and
Right.
no one.
Yeah. She's not just completely occupying the
Yeah.
conversation. Like, even though I would say Toni Morrison is the most talked about of black female writers,
Yes.
she's still not spoken about as much. So
No.
it kind of makes me feel like, are we afraid to just love black women that don't fit like a certain like mold? Because
Yeah.
we talk so much about, Nicki Minaj and Beyonce, and we talk so much about Serena Williams, but when it comes to those black women who are nerds and scientists and things like that, we don't really, I guess, because they aren't giving us something that's quickly sensory, I guess, like music or sports or something like that. We don't talk about them that much. Like,
I think it largely has a lot to do with people just don't really read, and if
true,
you're
true.
an avid reader,
Hmm.
you're gonna look for people
That
like
same type of
Octavia.
representation. Hmm.
And yeah, and Twitter, all social media, they kind of tell you what to like,
True.
like, and I feel like a lot of people fall victim to that. Like, here's the thing that you're supposed to like because it has all this in it. Like, I haven't seen Love, Simon or To All the Boys I've loved before or anything, but everybody loves those movies.
Right.
But I've read some criticism that they're not all that good, and
Yeah.
that's we tell people how they should feel, and if you're not one of those people who naturally wants to like seek beyond what
Mm.
you're getting, then of course you're just gonna scroll through Twitter and let people gas you and tell you what
Yeah.
to go consume. And it probably has a lot to do with the fact that Octavia um is a dark skinned woman too.
Yes.
Same with Alice Walker and Toni Morrison. They're all dark skinned women.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I mean,
they write about things that aren't really digestible for white people. As much as as many issues as we had with Kindred and Dana as a character, um, I don't think a white person could comfortably like enjoy those books. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are people like white people who love Kindred, who love
yeah.
Beloved, and all of Alice Walker's books, but
And let's not forget Zora
you're
Neale
just not
Hurston.
lighting content.
Right.
White people love watching us getting beaten up as slaves, but real
Torture
shit.
porn. Yeah. Yeah, and
So
it also kind of, in the same vein, like, I'm going back to you saying that Twitter kind of tells us what to like. It's not that you have to have like a hive mind and love these things, because, okay, when non-black people consume black art, and half the time they come up with their cockamamie left field takes on black art. Okay,
mhm.
criticize it. Like one time somebody said that Black Panther kept harping on, the race thing. It didn't. It actually really did not do
I did.
that. So that was just a dumbass hot take, because you probably didn't want to watch the movie or consume that art anyway. And that was, a lot of Twitter coming at this, this white Twitter user that said this, and it was just wrong. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, you can't have a founded criticism about certain things, and then Twitter just, like you said, dog piles on you about, why don't you like this? Like I've had experiences where I bring up something that specifically happened in an anime, in a movie, in a song, in a whatever, like something that actually happened. And it's like a million people telling me how I'm so wrong. And I'm like, that fucking happened.
Yeah, I be peeping it.
Yeah,
Folks really be arguing with you. Folks really don't have time in
right.
their lives like do anything else.
Like, and then they could be doing like what you said, reading a book. So anyway, like, I guess Joan and I are such avid readers, and
And we love fantasy.
we love fantasy, and we're always gonna plug the fact that y'all need to read. Like, we're
Yeah.
not saying that y'all don't read, but it's the fact that
Y'all don't read.
it's the fact that it's the conversation that I'm saying. I know you guys read. I know people have their podcasts and their YouTubes and their bookstagrams and all that stuff, but I don't see books trending.
I don't.
I don't see
I don't
us. I
either.
don't see us talking about books for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and months later, like Marvel movies. I don't see that.
No,
I don't see that.
no. So it always irks me too. I'm gonna see how I can how am I gonna relate this back to Kindred? It's like my brain, it always just stops. But it always bothers me when Black people. I'll be on Twitter, and a lot of it's okay to be a nerd now. Like nerd culture is surface level now, and people can say, "Oh, I like Superman," and not be looked at a weirdo. But I just remember people especially black people love fantasy because they love Dragon Ball Z. Niggas
Mm-hmm.
love Dragon Ball Z. Niggas love
Love,
Naruto.
love.
Niggas love for Naruto.
I'm one of those
And
niggas.
I've noticed black people I'll see the discourse on Tumblr and Twitter. People are like, well, where are all these, like, why can't black people be in these high fantasy type movies and stuff? And it's
Right.
like, they're there. You know, Octavia Butler, she's one of
Yes.
those people. She has the book Fledgling, I think, about the
Vampire.
vampires,
Mm-hmm.
and it's there.
She's put us in
Um,
these spaces.
yeah, and I just feel like a lot of people, they just, I don't know. I don't
No,
know how
no,
to say
it's true. I'll relate it back to comics. Okay, so these black superheroes on screen, they're such a big thing. Black Lightning,
it.
Black Panther, whatever, whatever. And we always cry as black nerds how we want to be included in these spaces, included in these spaces. But when we look at the sales numbers for Black Panther comic books or Black Lightning comic books, the sales aren't there. Like
Exactly.
we want to talk about representation. We're finally getting this. Well, we kind of been getting this just in book form, but
Yeah.
you weren't consuming it. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like so weird. Like, okay, so we got news that Ava DuVernay a long time ago was gonna, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it's in production or on hold or whatever, but she was gonna take some of Octavia Butler's works, I think Dawn, and adapt it to like a television, like a mini series or something. Everybody was,
Hmm.
oh, Black Girl Magic, Ava, blah blah blah. But why are we not seeing Octavia Butler's book sales fly through the roof now that she's a
Exactly.
part of this conversation? Like, I mean, we gotta keep it real. Like, y'all ain't reading. Like, y'all ain't reading on the scale. Like, you already know. We have to work twice as hard to get halfway there. So it's like we have to show that we want this work, we want these adaptations or whatever. We want this stuff to come out to the forefront. We have to bring it out. Like,
Hmm.
y'all need to buy these damn books. Like, y'all need to pay your $9.99 whatever and buy these books.
And just think of all the black writers that are in who write fantasy. They're just
Mm-hmm.
not like, they don't put their face on their novels because it might affect sales, or they don't
Yeah.
want their book put in the African American section. There's nothing wrong with the African American section,
Yeah.
but it does kind of, at the end of the day,
Right. And this isn't to say that you can't have an opinion on something, even though you may not be well read on something. Like sometimes I'll see
yeah,
stuff in passing and I'll take my opinion at that surface value. But a lot of times I see people going hard about books that I know they have not read.
yeah.
Like everybody's going hard about this The Hate You Give adaptation, but y'all ain't read that book. I don't
No, no, they have.
I don't want to see Amandla play Star. I don't. But at the same time, like, y'all ain't read that book. Y'all took a screenshotted excerpt of that book, but y'all ain't read that book. So it's like, I mean, sometimes you just gotta hush
Yeah,
about stuff that you don't know anything about. Like, especially when it comes to something that's been adapted from a source material. Like, if you ain't reading the book, be quiet. Be quiet.
yeah, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, one of the most profound things that I learned in school, I read this in a textbook in U.S. history. It said that Zora Neale Hurston died impoverished and alone. This woman was a part of the Harlem
And
Renaissance.
she's so fucking brilliant.
Exactly. And she died
She's so fucking
impoverished.
brilliant.
She died impoverished and alone. Like, I know it was back then, Harlem Renaissance, but wasn't nobody buying her book. Like, her own was not supporting her like that. So
But the black man, you hear a lot about the black man during the
you hear a
that
lot
era.
about Langston Hughes.
Yeah,
But
Ain't shit about Laura.
exactly, like y'all weren't supporting her, and it kind of like, and we already know that black women are we are on the bottom of the rung of the ladder. We already know that.
Yeah.
But it's just, and a lot of times black women, we have to carry the responsibility of making sure that we're seen and heard and elevated and things like that. But it's just, at the end of the day, we can still do better. And I'm speaking to me too. We can still do better. There's still much more black work that I need to consume. There's still much more black art in general that I need to consume. We can all do a little bit better, but it's like sometimes y'all be talking reckless on Blue Check Twitter. Like y'all be talking like y'all just connoisseurs and aficionados of everything, and you ain't.
Okay.
You really ain't.
Yeah, people just like to be loud and wrong.
Yeah.
On Twitter.
So,
but
it's sad that Twitter's going to be the majority of our marketing of this podcast. But I mean.
It will be maybe one day, like,
exactly. Take it how you
like, oh, fuck with them girls.
Exactly. Take it how you want to. Like, we're just trying to keep we're speaking our truth.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Octavia Butler, basically, she deserves better, to use a popular phrase.
She does. But let's go ahead and talk about this book. Let's like trash this book. Let's
okay.
Go right on in. Let me preface by saying the book's it's not poorly written at all. It's a good book. We just didn't like what was going on.
I will say this. I have never read a book that has stuck with me in a way that I can say has perfect pacing.
It does.
This book has perfect pacing.
Yeah,
I have never.
It does.
It never lagged at any point to me. It never seemed like it was too short at any point to me. It never. The only reason why it took me as long as it did to read this book, I think it took me like 4 days. Partially because I was
Dana's insufferable.
Yeah, I was traveling between two states, but at the same time, it's just Dana, like you said, like Joan just said, Dana is insufferable. Like I had to pause at so many points and just because I was reading it on the Kindle app, I had to pause at so many points to just tap out a note or highlight a section and just just scream my fucking head off because I was like, this bitch Dana. I can't take it anymore. But yes, the book has perfect pacing in my opinion.
It'd be a great movie if someone like did it right.
Yes, it would be an excellent movie, and she's so visual. You can picture the action in this book so clearly, and you can feel the anger so palpably at certain points in this book. It's just.
It's not poetic.
No,
it's so
not.
Weird. Like she doesn't wax lyrical. It's not torture porn at all, but it's just like so blunt. Yeah. But so like vivid. Like you can taste the sweat and dirt and blood on Dana.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's extremely well written. The only major problem that I had was just the protagonist herself. Like we've gone so far as to call Dana an unreliable narrator because you can't trust this bitch.
You can't. This bitch flip-flops. Oh my God.
You just wonder where her head is. You wonder where her loyalty is. You wonder sometimes at some points you wonder where her blackness is, which is so weird because she questions other characters' blackness. She goes so far at one point to say that a character would be despised in her time or considered a mammy type. And I'm like, Dana, that's you, boo. That's you.
Yeah, bitch, it's you. It's been so long since we read it. Her ancestor. We should probably tell people, give a summary to people who haven't done that. Basically,
summarize away, my friend.
Dana is this. She's a black woman who has a white boyfriend, or is he her husband? I can't remember. Are they married?
Her and Kevin are married.
They're married. Okay, so. She time travels accidentally. We don't know what starts this, but she goes back in time and she comes across her ancestor, who is Rufus. And Rufus is like, what, 2 or 3. Like, how old is this nigga?
Oh yeah, he's like 4 or 5. He kind of like the first time she saw him, he was drowning.
Yeah, and she saved him. Tiffany, you might need to go ahead and do the summary because
Okay,
I'm a fuck it up.
okay, I'll jog your memory then. Okay, so Kindred was published in June 1979. We just passed the anniversary actually. Well, an anniversary, and the book is about a black woman named Dana. She's married to a white man named Kevin. For some unexplained reason, she winds up uh, back in, we'll just say, hell, slavery times. It was before the damn
Yeah.
emancipation. She winds up back in slavery time, where she unknowingly rescues her ancestor from nearly drowning. A young man at the time by the name of Rufus Whalen. She right then and there you get sucked into the action because the book is actually set um, in the present, and the rest of the action is a flashback until we catch back up to the present day. Um, right there, you're sucked into the action with her being she gets what just she randomly just disappears in the middle of her living room, and she goes back into this time, and subsequently from that point she continues to travel back to that day, only it's always several years later, because basically we see Rufus Whalen grow into a man. And there's no reason there's no explanation as to why she travels back in time, which is why even Octavia Butler, she didn't necessarily consider this novel to be a science fiction novel because there's no science. There's literally no explanation as to why she travels back, which is kind of frustrating, but it's not nearly as frustrating as the plot, the action, or Dana, pretty much.
Yeah.
So she continues to travel back until she is. Well, this is a spoiler-free summary, so basically that's it. Black woman keeps traveling back in time, and she gets to know her white ancestor, her white slave-owning ancestor, through a series of meetings.
Traumatic meetings.
Very traumatic meetings.
Crazy.
So I guess we can jump into the spoiler review. Go ahead, Joan, take it away. Let's go ahead and fire. Let's go ahead and fire off this Dana hate.
Dana killed me because she always made excuses for Rufus. When she first, the second time she met him, he was like 5 or 6, and his dad had like beat his ass or something. Like, what did his dad do again that made him so mad that in the middle of the night, Dana catches him about to set the whole house on fucking fire, just to spite his parents.
And she should have jumped out the window or left out the door and let him set the shit on fire.
Right.
So
she would.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, it's so strange. Okay, so basically, Thomas Whalen, Rufus Whalen's father, he's abusive. He's abusive, and he treats Rufus like he's less than, because I mean, he pretty much is. He treats him like he's less than, and he gets upset because his father has injured him or something, and Dana sees him, and immediately what let me know that I wouldn't like this bitch is she referred to Rufus as Roof. She immediately gave him a nickname.
Yeah.
The second time she met him, when he was a little older. And I was like, hold up, you kind of familiar. But at this time, she'd already realized that he was her ancestor because she was able to trace some information back. And this is what kind of got me with Dana. Dana is very privileged. She's a very privileged black woman. She's in a relationship in the 70s with a white man. She doesn't really go through that much persecution over that relationship in her present time. And she's able to trace her ancestry back all the way to 100 years prior. She's in the 70s, so she's able to go back more than 100 years prior to that time. And not a lot of black people can do that.
No, they can't.
Everybody ain't Alex Haley. Not a lot of black people have the privilege to know that their great-great-grandmother or whatever, that her father was a slave owner. So, and Dana's able to do that. So she goes back in time and she gets very familiar with Rufus, to the point where she wants to protect him. And it just keeps getting worse every single time. It keeps getting worse. And what's so tricky about this book is her husband, Kevin. At first, I thought, okay, so Kevin did not believe that she went back in time and had this experience, even though he saw her disappear right in front of him. he just stone cold did not believe her. And I think I wrote a note at the beginning when I read that about how black women are so not believed, even when we're
Yeah,
telling the
we're
truth.
gaslighted all
Yeah,
the time. Yeah.
gaslighted. How do you gaslight somebody and you saw them fucking disappear right in front of your eyes? But he did it, and she let him do it. Like, she got a little upset, but she let him, and it wasn't really addressed. And it was just strange to me that I thought immediately that Kevin was gonna be just like this antagonist, and I was just gonna hate him.
I
Octavia,
like Kevin more than I like
hell
Dana.
yeah, Octavia really
He,
faked me out because I like Kevin way better.
and I just oh, Tiffany, you're so much more articulate than me. Like you, I could listen to you talk forever.
Not true. So not true. So not true.
But what really got me, well, both of us, what was the name of her black ancestor when she was running, when she was trying to escape, and she ran into the little girl Rufus plays with, that he likes to spend time with, that
Alice.
eventually ends up Alice. Um, Alice grows up.
Oh my God, Alice.
Rufus becomes obsessed with her,
Mm-hmm.
and he rapes her.
Rapes
And
her.
rapes her.
And she's
And
married. She's
she's
married.
married. She's married. Her and her husband try to run away, and Rufus rapes her and assaults her husband.
But her husband
And
beats the shit out of him.
yeah, beats the shit out of him. He gets away, and Dana flashes back in the middle of this happening, and she once again saves Rufus from an ass beating.
Mm-hmm.
And she rationalizes. Eventually, she sits down with Alice at some point, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, Rufus just loves you. He just doesn't know how to go about it. And the thing is, Dana is so hypercritical of all the slaves on the
Very
plantation,
much.
but
Sarah,
she
the
doesn't
old
realize
woman.
that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And then the mute girl, the deaf
Yeah.
mute girl. What's her name again?
Carrie.
Carrie. Yeah, I think it was. But they all see Dana. Dana's the house nigger in this book. Like,
Literally.
none of
Like,
the slaves really fuck with her because they're like, because Dana, obviously because she comes from a time now, and in the 1970s, we've pretty much we kind of rub shoulders with white people at this point, and Dana comes back, and Dana's more empathetic towards the white people than she is the slaves, and she's just like, why don't you guys just fall in line? And I don't know, it's just
yeah.
so.
And I want to go back.
Am I remember? Correct me if because
Go ahead.
it's been a minute
Yeah, we
since
read
I've
it. We
read
read
it.
it months ago, y'all.
But what do you share your thoughts?
Okay,
I agree
so
with
I kind of
you on
want to
everything.
piggyback on what you said about, Dana and her perception, and it goes back to what I said about her being very privileged. She makes this comment when she rescues Rufus from having his ass beat by Alice's husband. She makes this comment and says they basically had to walk back to the plantation, back to the slave mansion, back to Rufus's house, and she makes this remark about how she's glad to almost be home, and I made a note and I said yikes.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that, and I was like, "Bitch, what?"
I said yikes because she started to view that place as her home, and she even makes another remark at one point where she says it's amazing how easily people can get used to being slaves, and I'm like, no bitch, that's you. She makes that comment about Sarah, the old woman who kind of feeds everyone in the house, and who's had almost all of her children sold by Thomas Wayland, the slave master.
Thomas Wayland is also her baby's father too. And what didn't they have
Yeah,
like?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so she makes the comment that it's she didn't realize how easily people can acclimate themselves to slavery, and I'm like, no, that's you. Like you call this boy nicknames, you protect him every chance you get when you wind up back in his time, because for some reason, Rufus is suffering his, getting himself into these fucked up situations, summons Dana from the present day or her time to his time. And the only way Dana winds up ever going back to her time is she gets deathly afraid. Like something happens that puts her in like a life or death situation. And speaking of the life or death situations, one of the things that really captured me during her first encounter when she went back is when Thomas Wayland points his rifle at her. And she's basically staring down the barrel of his gun. And like that kind of really resonated with me in this current time of such gun violence against Black people.
I think even Dana, she even, if I remember correctly, she has the same feelings as you. She thinks about how the oh my god, how police, isn't that what she referenced in the book?
She said, and it was chapter 1. She said, I turned, startled, and found myself looking down the barrel of the longest rifle I'd ever seen. I heard a metallic click, and I froze, thinking I was going to be shot for saving the boy's life. I was going to die. I tried to speak, but my voice was suddenly gone. I felt sick and dizzy. My vision blurred so badly I could not distinguish the gun or the face of the man behind it. I heard the woman speak sharply, Rufus's mother, but I was too far gone into sickness and panic to understand what she said. So I'm not sure if she said anything about violence. Yeah, I don't think she's. Yeah, you giving Dana too much credit. Dana don't give a fuck about Black people. Dana, no. But that really resonated with me. The way that she described her distress in that moment, I was like, this is how people feel when they get unjustly gunned down. And like I feel that sickness and that anxiety even when I hear news stories about that. So the way that Octavia articulated that, because I know she'd seen that type of violence and that type of just injustice. It's just that goes back to basically me saying how well written the novel is. Like she completely conveys emotions in a way where you can really live in them. But that's kind of a segue I took. But yeah, Dana, she's very much acclimated to the slave lifestyle. She has these moments where she's disgusted by things. She sees things, they hurt her feelings or whatever. But she chooses Rufus above everything.
And this book's really violent too. Rufus is
very violent,
incredibly violent. Like I don't see how she turns a blind eye to it. And eventually, she thinks Rufus would never turn on her. I mean, of course he does. Yeah. Like at the end of the book, Rufus takes, after all these like years of watching Rufus grow and become this terrible person, just like his father,
helping him
through
sickness.
He turns it on her.
Yeah.
He turns it on her and tries to rape her.
He tries to rape her and she has to kill him.
Yeah.
She has to kill him and that causes her to go back to his time. But the funny thing about it is what pisses me off about Dana and the reason why I say I think she gets some sort of high, or she got some sort of high off of continuing going back to that time. Mm-hmm. Because she's completely disowned by her family because she married a white man. Like her parents were kind of well off and they were very supportive of her goals. And they were like, nah, fuck this. We draw the line at this. And Rufus, Kevin, her husband's Kevin, my bad. Kevin, he didn't think that his family, were racist.
Dana's black ass shut up.
I know. Yeah. So he comes through with Dana and they like, nah, bruh, like this ain't what we do. So they're kind of just, they only have each other pretty much. And Dana's a writer. And I thought that, that was a way that I was going to identify with her, but no. The issue with Dana, the reason why I said I think she kind of gets a high off of continuing to go back to that time is because she never consults anybody about this.
No, she doesn't. Who would believe her?
No, and that's her point. Who would believe her? But it's like she don't even want to fucking go to a voodoo priestess. She don't even want to go. Yeah. She don't even want to go to a damn tarot card reader, a Miss Cleo, nothing. She just like she doesn't even want to try to
accept it.
She just accepts it. She accepts it, and she doesn't try to really, figure it out. She's kind of resigned herself to, well, I'm going to keep going back and forth, and she just. It's just weird to me. It's like she gets beaten by Thomas Wayland. Like, he beats the shit out of her. She goes back into her time, and like
Well,
she's
we forgot to mention Kevin. He goes back in time with her,
yes, he
and he's
does at
more
some point.
traumatized than she is.
Yes, he is. He's more traumatized, and to the point where she escapes. Well, she winds up getting sucked back to her time after she gets beaten by Thomas Whalen, and
Mm-hmm.
she's not with Kevin. Like, they have to be near each other, have physical contact to go back and forth together. And like, when she finally ends up going back to get Kevin or figure out what happened to him, it's been years, and he's left the slave mansion. He's gone to like the north or something. And he's gone. And I had such a sense of anxiety when, she left without him, and then she came back and he was gone. But I thought at that point that was going to be a turning point with her and Rufus. But no, this bitch writes letters to Kevin, and she wants Rufus to deliver them, so that Kevin can come back to the plantation and get her. Oh hell no! We found out that Rufus been hiding the letters. He hasn't been delivering them, and she doesn't even get that mad.
No, she doesn't. It's like she understands why. She's like, I understand, Rufus is attached to me and we
No,
have this bond. And it's just like,
and to add insult to injury, this bitch doesn't even suspect that Rufus isn't sending the letters. I clocked that shit from the
me
beginning.
too.
I was
From
like,
the beginning, I'm like, this nigga not sending these
I was like,
letters
he's
at
not.
all.
And the person who confirms to her that he's not sending the letters is Alice, the one that she talks so much shit about, because Alice is the type, I would rather die than be enslaved. I would rather die than live like this. And Dana is the one who convinces Alice to live like that. She convinces Alice to allow herself to continue to be raped by Rufus. She does this, and I was
She
just
doesn't
like,
see her husband again either, does she? He
no,
he doesn't he get caught in.
No. Her husband ends up coming back with her. They end up going.
Okay.
They end up going back to that time, and he's kind of suffering like some kind of mini.
No. Alice's husband,
Oh
the
no!
guy who.
Oh no! He winds up getting like his eyes gouged out and like
Mm-hmm.
dragged or some shit. Like he dies violently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like she never sees her husband again. She winds up siring all these kids for Rufus, and then Dana is sitting back like she's on the fucking Price is Right, and she's like, "Oh, is this baby gonna be Hagar, the ancestor that she actually knows about? Is this baby gonna be grandmother Hagar?" And I'm like, "Bitch." So Rufus does one more thing before he tries to rape Dana, and Dana still doesn't really give a fuck because Rufus kind of sort of begins to bond with their child, who she teaches how to read and all this shit. Dana is fucked up. But Rufus pretends like, because Alice allows herself to not be comfortable in a situation that she has with Rufus, but to, I guess, just bear it, just endure the bullshit life that she's going through, for her kids' sake, because she has these kids by him. But she, she wants to run away, and Dana's like, "Oh, don't run away." She wants to run away, and Rufus decides to pretend like he sold their children, and
And she kills her. Alice kills herself.
Alice kills herself. She kills herself. And Dana's just like, "Oh wow, this happened. I'm so upset." But you can't feel any real indignation from her.
None.
She lets
Dane's a fucked up person.
She lets Rufus off the hook when Rufus comes back home with their son, and basically he has to, tell his son that, that Alice is dead. And like he has like a 5-second bonding moment with the child. And like Dana looks at it like, "Oh, so cute." That fucking 5 seconds of bonding superseded Alice's whole life to Dana. Like, Alice calls Dana out for who she is. Alice is kind of like my voice in this novel.
Alice is all of us. Alice
Right.
is all of us reading this fucking book.
Right. She calls Dana out for Dana's bullshit, and Dana somehow flips it back on Alice. Every single time she flips it back on Alice and makes Alice the enemy, makes Alice bitter, makes Alice, try
Alice
to seem
is
superior.
So gaslit. She's so gaslit throughout this entire fucking book.
It's awful. And Joan, I talk too much. Take it away.
No, I agree with everything
I'm
you're
getting
saying.
fucking mad. Like I hate this character so much.
I hate it too. You know what I think though? This is one thing. This is nothing. I mean, the story is by Octavia Butler, but this really has nothing to do with what we're kind of talking about. But I just think it's interesting how even when we do write an epic historical fantasy, it's about slavery, you know. And I wish
Right.
Octavia was still alive to explain
Right.
what the fuck. Like
Please.
I'm gonna chalk this up to it was intentional for Dana to be fucking
Just so.
obtuse.
Yes, yes, I have to say that. And the saddest part about it is I've done a pretty good amount of research on this book as far as other people's feelings about it, and I just don't see that anybody's come to the conclusion about Dana that we have.
No,
Like, it doesn't seem like anybody else hates this bitch. And I'm just like, and then before I started sharing my feelings with you about it as I was reading it, I was like, am I wrong? Because I don't like
no.
this. Because I don't like her automatically. And then I talked to you about it, and you were like, nah, something fucking wrong with her. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow.
The moment Rufus tried to light the fucking house on fire at like 5 years old, like what kind of fucked up child in his head conceives that I'm gonna get back at my dad by burning everything he owns down? Like
I,
what 5-year-old thinks like that? Like
I literally annotated and said a little terrorist in the making.
that's what Rufus is.
Yep.
Rufus is that white boy who listens to Avenged Sevenfold and wears trench coats and shoots at fucking schools.
Not
That's probably not fucking funny.
not
That's what Rufus is to me.
not trench coats. Not trench coats.
Trench coats and those cheap Walmart like sneakers that look like Nikes or
or,
Adidas.
or them fake Doc Martens.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's what Rufus is in the making.
that shit is just insane to me. Like I just can't believe that Dana is so. You can't trust her. You can't trust
No.
her as she's writing. I mean, as she's telling you what happened. And at one point in the book, she says, "Okay, so Rufus tells her that his father is a fair man." Dana disagrees that Thomas Whalen is fair, but she says his father wasn't the monster he could have been with the power he held over his slaves. He wasn't
Bitch!
he wasn't a monster at all. Just an ordinary man who sometimes did the monstrous things his society said were legal and proper. And I was just like, bitch, he beat you. He beat the skin off your
He was
back.
only scared of Dana because he thought she was a fucking witch. That was
Exactly.
the only reason why Thomas never like really like fucked her shit up. He thought she was like some demon.
Yes, he beat the shit out of her. He didn't want her to read. He beat her over that shit. Like, he beat the skin off her back, and she's talking about he's not a monster. He just sometimes did monstrous things. Bitch, that equals monster. Like, it's just so disgusting to me how she regards this family. And like, she even gets to a point where, okay, she decides from the beginning that she doesn't fuck with Rufus's mother, Margaret, because Margaret like she has this weird fucking Oedipus bullshit with Rufus.
He said,
So seriously, like, wasn't Oedipus's mom named Jocasta, some shit like that? Like, she has this weird ass Oedipus shit with Rufus. Like nobody can take care of her baby boy better than she can, but Rufus always wants Dana to be his caregiver, his reading lesson giver, etc., etc. And Margaret Whalen can't stand that shit. Margaret Whalen winds up going away for some reason because
she loses her fucking mind.
Yeah,
she has mental issues. Yeah,
and I'm not gonna say for some reason or just that she has mental illness. It's actually, well, it is that, but it's also because Thomas Whalen keeps fucking slaves. He keeps fucking his slaves and and impregnating them, and Margaret Whalen's like, nah, it's just stupid. It's like that scene in 12 Years a Slave where Lupita Nyong'o's character is like, the slave master's looking at her, like she's some hot piece of black ass, and his wife gets all pissed off, and like he kind of puts his wife in his place, and then his wife wants to fucking fight Lupita Nyong'o's character Patsy, and I'm just like, I don't understand these white bitches. Like, check your man.
Check your man.
What the fuck is a slave supposed to do? Bitch, I'm sorry I'm attractive. I am enslaved. Like, get your mind right. So Margaret, hates Dana, for those reasons, and just black women in general. And
you know what's funny though? White women are just such fucking victims. The fact that when Dana saved Rufus, the fact that her immediate reaction was to fucking like beat Dana, you know, like, and then like cry about it. It's just, I don't.
She saved your precious baby boy, but you sitting up here like hitting her ass with haymakers because she saved your son. And it's just that feeling of inadequacy, like that victimhood. You said you couldn't save your son, so now you mad and you want to beat up the one who could. Like, fucking inferiority complexes to the hilt. And this book definitely explores that because, honestly, Rufus is his mother.
He is his mother. Yeah, he definitely is. He's more of his mother than he is his father.
Absolutely.
And I feel like if Rufus's mother was a man, she would be the fucking worst fucking slave owner ever.
Maybe Dana would actually consider her a monster then. But anyway, like, Margaret winds up returning to the estate and she's like very much declined. She's still got a sharp ass bitch ass mind, but she's like, she can't really like do anything for herself. And Dana winds up being her like personal care attendant. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And Dana starts getting comfortable and relaxed in that role. And I'm like, what the hell?
I don't even, and here's the thing, like, Dana doesn't even have Stockholm Syndrome. The bitch is just obtuse and selective with her empathy. That's really it.
And it's like...
And you know what's fucked up?
What?
You know, out of all, the whole story, when her and Kevin comes back, Dana isn't, even though she loses her arm at the end through the wall or however, Kevin still, it still takes Kevin a long time to, like, get over it. And even after all this is over, Dana still wants to know what happened. Ruth, it literally like consumes her. They go all the way across the fucking country to go back to this plantation. I think it was in it was somewhere in, it was the South, but it was like more on the East Coast up north.
It wasn't Massachusetts, but no, it was somewhere. It wasn't Pennsylvania. Was it Maryland?
I think it was Maryland.
Okay.
I think it was.
But yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, even though Rufus causes all of this calamity, Thomas Wayland and Margaret Wayland, Dana still fucking cannot hold any of them in contempt. Even when Rufus tries to rape her, she only kills him because she doesn't want to be raped. And that's the only way for her not to be raped. Because after she kills him and she winds up getting transported back in her time, oh shit. Dana lost her arm. Because Octavia Butler said in an interview that she couldn't come back whole. She couldn't come back from such an experience as slavery whole. But I'm not going to say Octavia Butler's wrong about her own book. I'm just going to say my own interpretation of that. Joan, you just said that Dana doesn't have any Stockholm Syndrome. She doesn't show any signs of trauma, right?
No, not at all.
She doesn't show anything psychologically. The only thing that she has to show for that is the fact that she winds up being maimed. She winds up losing an arm.
Oh, bitch, did we come on to something?
Hold on. Let me take you there and see if we're gonna get somewhere. But like, I feel like the only reason why Dana lost her arm is because Dana, a part of Dana wanted that place. A part of Dana enjoyed that place. A part of Dana, as we see at the end of the novel, could not let go of that place. It's not that the trauma of slavery took something out of her, because we see no evidence of that psychologically. Dana could not remove all of herself from that time, from the very first time that she went there, because she referred to that place as home at one point. Like, I would argue that Dana felt more of a sense of belonging there than she did in her own time.
Yeah. And we don't really get much of a history on Dana. We get that her was it her aunt or uncle or her grandparents that raised her? It wasn't her, like, parents.
Yeah,
Am I remembering wrong?
I think it was her aunt and uncle.
But they were color struck to begin with. We don't even get like a full glimpse of Dana's whole like upbringing. So it doesn't make sense.
I'm telling you, she didn't leave that fucking arm behind because the trauma of slavery took something from her. That fucking arm got left behind because a piece of her was there. Period.
Exactly.
And not there because it was just such a strong traumatic experience because again we see no signs of psychological trauma from Dana, not even a mention. We actually see more of it from Kevin, a white man, than from her. Like she left that shit behind because that's what she wanted to be. That's what she wanted to be because at the end Rufus tries to rape her, she has to kill Rufus. It's not like when it's not like when your girl. Forgive our iPhone sounds, people.
I'm
Just
sorry.
no,
You
no,
heard
no,
that?
no, 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 no. I got 2 text messages on my damn computer. My nephew, who never fucking texts me of his own accord, finally texts me about some shit, and it comes through when I'm trying to do a podcast. Anyway, anyway, but yeah, like Dana, like Joan said, she tries to go back to that time, that plantation or whatever, to actually find out what happened in history. Like she said, I think she even went so far as to say she needed closure or something. But I'm like, bitch, you can't let this place go.
She can't. She can't. She just, I don't know what Dana. I get that's the point. I feel like Octavia wrote this and she did this. This was all
It
intentional. I don't
had
want to
to
believe
be.
she wrote this story all willy nilly, like, oh, this would be entertaining.
Thinking we're gonna
But
love Dana.
yeah, I don't think we're supposed to like Dana. I mean, that could just be me or interpretation. Other people, they might disagree, but
Yeah. But it's just she's so hard to. She makes the book almost more uncomfortable than the actual violence against Black lives that we have to bear witness to. It's just her disposition with everything. Her regard of other slaves just makes it so. Rufus even sells a male slave. What's his name? Sam?
yeah, one of the dudes, one of the slaves starts to come on to Dana during that period when Kevin's somewhere in the past up north and she can't get in touch with him. One of the other slaves gets really comfortable with Dana and Rufus sells him because he doesn't want Dana to interact with any like of the other male slaves.
Like,
because he has an inferiority complex.
And then the thing about it is Dana gets so many warnings that Rufus is going to try something with her. Alice basically tells her that he sees us the same. Like, you're the more acceptable version of me. Like she's, I mean, shit. They even
Alice and Dana look alike, though.
They even mention that Alice and Dana look alike. It's just, but this bitch just keeps on trying to keep close to Rufus to the bitter end, and then he finally rapes her, and tries to rape her, and I was not surprised because I was like, bitch, Alice is gone.
I saw that shit coming.
Yeah, he been trying to cozy up to you all this time. Like, he sold a damn man just for being attracted to you. Like, everybody sees this shit except Dana. And she's a writer. She's a writer, but she has no type of emotional intelligence. Like, she's tone deaf as fuck about being Black. Like, it's crazy to me. And then the thing about it is, when I realized, because at first, when I was first reading it, I thought Kevin was Black before we got a little bit of a glimpse in the past of their history. And then when I found out Kevin was white, I thought that was going to change the trajectory of the story because Dana kept dropping all these hints like Kevin was going to start to become power hungry and like actually be okay with slavery at some point.
And he wasn't.
And he never was. But these are the kind of things that Dana kept dropping, and I'm looking and I'm waiting for it to happen. But as I'm looking and seeing that it's not happening, I'm noticing that I'm slowly but surely beginning to truly hate Dana. Like, she is the one. Oh, Jesus.
Dana is. If you don't like to read stories about someone making a series of bad decisions, if that's not your jam, this book isn't for you. But I do think every Black person should read this book.
I do, and I definitely agree with that. And I agree that it should just be read by. It should also be read by people who want to write, no matter what color you are, because it is just so. Dana is insufferable. Okay, she is.
She's insufferable.
But it's incredibly well written. Now, it has its flaws. Obviously, not just Dana being, sucky, but I wish I had known more reason for the time travel. I wish there had been a little bit more science for science
I want
fiction.
to know more about Dana because I want to know
Yes,
what about her. Like, is she just like a glutton for like
yes,
punishment? Like, I just want to know what
yes,
happened in her life where she associated so much of her identity with Rufus. I
exactly.
get she was. I don't know. It's a good book.
Yeah.
You should go read it and hurt your feelings.
You should read it. The descriptions, the pacing. It's a very quick read, even though it's very traumatic. Um,
Hmm.
it,
I
it
think I read it in 2 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's extremely well done. It's just you don't leave the novel with a lot of questions. I would say we covered the two questions that you would probably leave the novel with. What was there some sort of scientific or metaphysical explanation for Dana's time travel? We don't really know. We kind of know the catalyst for it, but we don't really
Mhm.
know the real reason. Um, and what did you say? You said her backstory. We don't really know that much about her. We don't know what causes her to have the motivations that she has. Um,
She's
yeah.
just a dumb bitch. She's just a dumb bitch. That's all she is. She's just something, ain't it?
And you know what? There has to be something in her past that connects to why we don't really know anything about the time travel, because it's obviously motivated by the fact that she was predestined to be inappropriately connected to Rufus Whalen,
Hmm.
her slave grandfather, her slave owner grandfather. She because she is literally drawn back to that time when he's in distress. But the only time she can go home is when that time puts her in distress. And this bitch doesn't even care. She doesn't care that she has to see her life flash before her fucking eyes just to come
Do
home.
you think? Do you think it has something? This is just me making a reach. This is a reach because I remember finishing it and just trying to figure out what the fuck did I just read. What if like she is like some reincarnation of Alice? Like I don't know.
You know what? That kind of gives me Inuyasha vibes. So
Yeah,
as far yeah, because obviously in
Gome ain't shit like Kikyo.
yeah, exactly. Obviously in Inuyasha, Kagome ain't shit like Kikyo. They kind of look alike. And that's pretty much it. Same with Alice.
That's
And
it.
you know what? I
Yeah.
mean, ooh, okay. Kindred, Inuyasha, AU. Just humor me a little bit. Okay, so so Alice took her own life. She never got to kill her oppressor.
Hmm.
Maybe Alice's will was so strong when she died. She didn't want to die, but she didn't want to live. She would have preferred if Rufus died, but she had no way of making that happen. What if her will was so strong, just like Kikyo wanting to come back and kill Inuyasha? What if her will was just so strong that Dana truly is her reincarnation and she's
Yeah.
able to do what Alice could never have the justice to
Yeah.
do? That's
And she could take Alice wasn't really like
John.
because
That's fucking good. That makes me feel like that makes me feel like this book needs a sequel or some shit. Like
it does, but Auntie Octavia is
I
no
know.
longer with us. She can't give us an explanation. So,
Wow.
man, I hate. What was it like being alive during this time this book came out and actually being able to like interview Octavia and ask her, "Hey,
Yeah.
man, what the fuck did you just write? Like,
But
help me out."
you know what? This is so dynamic. It was first published in 1979, and it's just she's being so she's being so completely honest about what it's like to be a slave through the story of Alice, um, and through the pain from Sarah seeing her children be sold off. Um, it's just
Mhm.
she's so honest in the description of it, and this is the 70s when Roots is coming out.
Yeah,
When Alex Haley is, encouraging black people to have family reunions and trace their ancestors and keep, history and things like that. It's at a time where, what is it? What was the Black Panther party? Was that 65? 60s,
Girl, I have no
whatever.
idea.
But it's just
Ain't pretend I know.
it's at that time, the 60s, civil rights acts, things like that. No, 66. It's at that time where 66 through almost to the 80s. It's just like those are very strong times for Black people. The 60s, the 70s, the 80s, very very
Yeah.
strong times where we were just a lot of moves were made to help us enjoy some of the freedoms that we have now. And so for her to be a woman, for her to be a woman writing a book classified in the science fiction genre, talking so frankly about slavery and its evils and how it just twists and corrupts us psychologically as Black people and, white people. It's just, I mean, this is why we should fucking be talking about her. That shit is dynamic. That shit is bold. It's our history. Like, she did that. She really did that.
You know what? It's just like Black women, we just endure so much pain. And that's a common theme in a lot of Alice Walker, Toni Morrison, especially Beloved. I've never read Beloved, but the movie is fucking wild.
That shit, Beloved is low key a fucking horror book.
Yeah, it's horrifying. Kindred, it's just, and Zora Neale Hurston's in there. I've been watching God.
Oh my God.
I've been reading it, and in this Alice's story reminds me so much of Janie's grandmother who raises her, and how she was raped by the white man on the plantation, I believe. I can't remember, but and she says to Janie, she wants so much for Janie. And I just remember her saying, "I'm a cracked plate." And I was like, bitch, yes, I feel that.
Right. And then Janie comes home at the beginning of the book. I'll never forget. Like, she comes home and, like, everybody's whispering about her. Nobody's embracing her. Everybody just has rumors and opinions. And it's just, she's been through the most traumatic thing you could probably go through. And it's not even, like, for any real... I mean, she gotta kill the love of her life because he got fucking rabies. Like,
and then that's the fucked up thing. Janie goes through these relationships, and TK, even though she's in love with him, that nigga beats her.
Exactly. Like, he had that shit coming, but it's just like, it's crazy to me. Like you said, Black women have to endure so much pain. Like, Octavia was in a male-dominated industry. She had dyslexia. She didn't drive because she was so afraid that her dyslexia would, like, make her, go down the wrong lane and, be killed. But she knew at 9 years old that she wanted to write. Her mother was very encouraging of her. When her mother passed away, she moved to Seattle, and she brought 300 boxes of books with her. Like... The fuck? Like, it's just we come from such dynamism, from such amazing, women with such vision, and it's like we can't let them be swept away by time.
We have to, preserve our writers, and
especially our Black women.
Yeah, and Octavia Butler is, very much to be appreciated. And despite my frustrations with Dana, I genuinely enjoy reading the book. I don't think I could ever read it again.
Me neither.
Because it's so emotionally draining. But I mean, you got to read it. I would definitely recommend that you read it if you haven't read it. So that's basically us signing off with Kindred.
Yeah, it's so legit. I feel so legit.
Yeah, it was.
We got a podcast. We just did this shit.
we do. We have basically, we started this podcast because I like Joan. She's my friend. I enjoy speaking to her. One of the things that I enjoy most about speaking to her is the fact that I always feel heard. I feel like I can relate. And yeah, I do.
I love you too. You're the only person, like, I'm not gonna say, well, I hope nobody, like, I know hears this and feels some type of way, but like, it's you're one of the few people who actually, like, returns my calls and messages sometimes. And I feel heard, and I feel like we're both on the same page, and it's really hard to find other Black women who are into the same things as you.
It really is, and it's just such a sense of I guess belonging when you do find that. And and what I like most about Joan, I know we kind of harped on Blue Check Twitter and popular Twitter a lot, because I mean we very much would love, you know, millions of listeners and to become, you know, popular with a platform such as that. But one thing that I really want us to retain, and I'm not saying other people don't have that, but it's just something that I personally want for our podcast. I just want to retain our authenticity. Like I don't ever want us to get caught up in the hype. I don't ever want us to get caught up in, you know, the fame should we acquire it. I just want us to keep loving books and keep relating to each other, and that's really why we started this podcast, because we enjoy feeling, you know, heard and feeling like you can relate to someone, and, you know, enjoying like nerdy things. Like Joan says, she's a fucking nerd. I pretty much am too. And you know, I like being able to talk about things and occupy spaces that sometimes we aren't allowed to occupy, or even if we do occupy them, it comes with a lot of scrutiny. And I don't feel scrutinized by Joan. I feel like we have a very honest, quid pro quo, creative, you know, friendship, and and, you know, we just basically want to extend that to our listeners. We want to extend that feeling of belonging and friendship, and bonding over art, just things like that to you guys. So
it's always like you know, you're supposed to have friends for different things, but I think it's also important to have friends who are creative.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you create, I create, and when I create, you create. We both like inspire each other.
Very much.
That's really important to have when you're an artist, and that includes being a writer too, because writing is a form of art.
It very much is. There's no artists, and then there are writers. Like artists are writers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's basically the statement of purpose of our podcast, and we just want to thank you guys so much for listening to episode 1. You know, we hope to do these monthly.
I think right now, with how our life is going,
maybe
once or twice a month.
Yeah. We're going to try to shoot once or twice a month. I mean, we can't even update a fanfic, so, like, we
exactly. Oh, my God.
we have to go with the flow of life. We just hope that, you know, you guys really enjoy this first episode as much as we enjoy making it. We don't know if the next podcast will be a book review, but well, first of all, we don't just want to review books. Just, you know, just so you guys know that. We pretty much want to talk about, you know, the things that we feel are important. Because we feel like a lot of things go under the radar and they're never really discussed, and they're not discussed honestly. So we just want to talk about, you know, the things that we want to talk about, whether that's books or social.
We have underrepresented opinion.
I think so. Yeah, pretty much.
That's the thing here. Me and you peep things that other people either are too scared to peep or no one's like aware.
And that's not us trying to be pretentious or presumptuous. It just kind of seems that way. Like, it's like that meme where it's like, why would you say something so controversial but true?
Yeah, right. I love that meme.
Right. So we just want to be, I guess we want to be controversial but true. So once again, I'm Tiffany. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 1 of the Black Dialectuals podcast. And that's Joan.
I'm so sorry.
And Joan is my co-host.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we are the hosts of the Black Dialectuals podcast, and, you know, we really enjoyed talking at you guys. Thanks.
Yeah. All right.